Another clause that we can use is the else or else if or elif clause. So let's say that we want to do something like this. Let's say that we want to get a number from a user, and then we wanted to report positive if number is positive, report negative if number is negative, and then report 0 otherwise. Well, okay, let's get at the number first. So num is equal to float input number. And, well, okay, so we could start off by saying if num, how do we know if it's positive? Well, if it's greater than 0, then it's positive. So then we'll print positive. And let's just try that. And so if it's 5, it's positive. I'll run it again. And let's put -7. And it doesn't do anything. Okay, so how do I pick off this? Well, we've learned how to use the else clause, so I could say else print negative. And I'll run that. And so here, let's see, I'll put in a 5. Okay, we get positive. I'll run it again. And then I'll put -8. I get negative. Okay, it looks like it's working great. Let's run it again. And I'll put 0. Well, it says 0 is negative. 0 really isn't negative. It's neither positive nor negative. So this doesn't work great. So how can I handle that? Well, I can actually do it this way. I can say this really belongs here. And what I can put in is an elif. So elif allows me to throw another logical check here. So if it's greater than 0, it's going to say positive. If it's less than 0, it's going to say negative. And otherwise, it's going to say that it's 0. So let's try that. So let's see. I put let's put 9D this time. Okay, that's positive. Run it again. -55. I get negative. And then let's run it again. Now, one thing when you're testing if-then statements, you often have to run the program 3 times because you have to test, or as many times as there are branches in your if statements, you have to run it that many times to thoroughly test it out. So now I put 0, and it detects that it's 0 and doesn't say negative. So now we have a program that can detect if it's positive, if it's negative, or if it's zero. And you can put as many elifs in here as you want. So you can have one if, one else, and as many elifs as you want. And you would put in, as many of those as you can. So one other thing to note, though, is that when you start getting a lot of these, you may need to pay attention to the order. So I'm going to create another one called Elif order demo. And let's say that we're going to get a number from the user. And then we're going to, if number is greater than 10, say greater than 10. If number greater than 20, say greater than 20. If number greater than 30, say greater than 30. And so let's get our number. Num is equal to float input. Please enter a number. And then we'll say if num is greater than 10, print greater than 10. And then elif num greater than 20, print greater than 20. And then elif num greater than 30, print greater than 30. No, you don't have to have an else. An else is an optional. Elifs and elses are optional. You can do ifs and elses. You can do ifs and elifs. You can do ifs, elifs, and elses. So we'll just leave it like this and see what happens. So I'll go ahead and run this. And we'll put 11. Well, it's greater than 10. Okay, it looks like it's working great. Let's try 21. No, you have to test each branch whenever you have if statements to make sure it's working correctly. So now I'll put 21. Wait, it says it's greater than 10. Why didn't it say it was greater than 20? Well, it's because 21 is greater than 10. It executes this branch and does not. And then, so as soon as one of these branches is true, it skips all the rest of the elifs. So this really isn't doing what we want. Now we could do this. We could actually make these all be separate if statements. And let's see what would happen then. So now these are separate independent if statements. So now I'll put 21 in here and let's see what happens. Well, now it says it does both of those. Because these are now independent if statements, it checks this one. Well, that one's true, so it says it's greater than 10. And that one's true, so it's greater than 20. And yes, this is correct. 21 is greater than 10 and also greater than 20. But that's probably not what we really want. We really want just one of these to execute. Well, the trick to doing that is this has to be in the reverse order. And so this is why the order of your elif statements can be, depending on what you're doing, important. So I'm going to do it in this reverse order and turn these back into elifs. So now it's going to check to see if it's greater than 30. And then it's going to check to see if it's greater than or 20. And let's run this again. And so then I'll put 21, and now it just executes the 1. And so, and then we could, you know, just say else, and we could put a final print. And that way we cover if, you know, you put something less than 10, then it will catch that as well. Of course, you know, this is this is, you know, optional, but, you know, you can also do an else. So just some different ways of combining if statements. And the key here is often when you're working with elifs, you want to go from the more specific to the more general. So in this case, you can kind of think of it this way. You know, there's fewer numbers are greater than 30. There's more numbers are greater than 20. There's more numbers are greater than 10. And so by doing this, you pick off the more specific cases and work your way to the more general cases. And often that's the pattern you see when you're using elifs. So, and the way you can, you know, think about that is, hey, is actually just try test numbers as you're writing your code in your mind through your logical expressions and see what's going to work and what's not going to work. And see if there are some branches that you can, when you're running it to test it, try to get through every single branch that you have in your logical statement. And that's usually the best test, is running your code and testing it through every branch to see that you get to every possible outcome. Thank you very much.